The galaxy had never seen anything like it. On a distant human colony, millions of people were lined up in vast open fields under the gray sky, watched by thousands of alien soldiers. High above, alien drones floated silently, recording every movement, every scream, every heartbeat. The aliens called it a spectacle, a demonstration to the galaxy of their superiority. The humans called it a nightmare. From Earth, billions of eyes could only watch. The transmission was broadcast across countless systems, reaching every corner of human civilization. The aliens had made sure no one could hide from it. They wanted humans to despair, to break completely, to understand that resistance was useless. 9 million lives were about to be erased, live in front of the entire universe. The alien announcers spoke in a voice that was cold, metallic, and emotionless. Observe the weakness of humans. They cling to life, yet they cannot defend it. They are primitive, fragile, and disposable. Their words echoed through the transmission, meant to humiliate. On the colony below, humans trembled. Some held hands with their families. Others closed their eyes, whispering prayers to gods they didn't know if they still believed in. Yet, amid the fear, something strange began to stir. In quiet corners, small acts of defiance appeared. A mother whispered to her child, "Remember this and never forget. They will not win in the end." A young man looked at the alien cameras, and though his knees shook, he raised his head with a silent promise. "We are more than you know." Far away, on the bridge of a massive alien command ship, the leaders watched the live feed. They were certain of their victory. "In 3 more hours, this planet will be empty," said one, his voice filled with cruel satisfaction. "The humans will be nothing but history, and we will be remembered as gods across the stars." But even as the aliens celebrated, they didn't notice the signals flickering in the background. Small, coded transmissions escaped their network, unnoticed. Earth had not been silent. For decades, humans had anticipated this moment. They had prepared quietly, secretly, in ways the aliens could never imagine. On Earth, the leaders sat in the high command room, a massive circular chamber deep under the planet's surface. Screens surrounded them, showing the massacre in horrifying clarity. The room was silent, heavy with grief. 9 million, said the commander, his voice low but firm. They think we are powerless. They think we will cry and do nothing. They are wrong. Scientists and engineers were already at work. Massive orbital platforms, cloaked and hidden, had been constructed around the planet. Each one held technology that could rival entire fleets of alien warships. Earth's most brilliant minds were working together, drawing on every human invention, every scientific principle, every strategy ever conceived. "This is only the beginning," whispered one engineer to her colleague. "They think this is victory. They have no idea what comes next." Back on the colony, humans were being organized into lines, forced to march. The aliens had designed the event for maximum terror. Cameras recorded every moment. From orbiting stations, alien leaders monitored, ensuring every human reaction was captured. They wanted the galaxy to see total human submission. But even here, small sparks of resistance appeared. In hidden pockets, humans exchanged glances, communicated silently. One man, assigned to the front line, subtly shifted the formation. A woman in the back of the crowd smuggled messages in her sleeve. They were tiny acts, almost invisible, but they mattered. The aliens had underestimated human spirit. They believed fear alone could break them. They did not understand hope. They did not understand memory. Humans remembered every injustice, every loss, every strategy their ancestors had used to survive impossible odds. Humanity had survived plagues, wars, extinction events on their own planet. They were survivors by design, adaptable by nature, clever by instinct. And now, even in the face of annihilation, that spirit was flickering back to life. High above the colony, alien drones circled, capturing the event from every angle. They were sophisticated, equipped with sensors that could detect human emotions, stress levels, and even predict movement. Yet, even with all their technology, they could not measure defiance, the quiet, unquantifiable strength of a human heart. On Earth, cryptic signals began appearing on alien monitors, signals the aliens could not decode. Small, almost imperceptible glitches in their communication systems. Their ships began receiving strange readings in distant sectors. Aliens thought it was malfunction. They did not suspect that these were humans, Earth's own creations, probing, testing, preparing. In the command room of the alien fleet, one officer frowned. These humans, something is not right. Their response patterns too precise, too calm. But before he could investigate further, the broadcast continued. 9 million humans were still alive, still watching, still waiting. And above them, the aliens believed victory was imminent. Yet the humans had already begun their countermeasures. Across Earth, engineers were launching drones, satellites, and cloaked spacecraft toward strategic points in the galaxy. Some were tiny, almost invisible. Others were massive and powerful, capable of erasing alien surveillance networks with surgical precision. Every move was calculated, every deployment timed to perfection. Humans had waited for this moment, and they were ready. Back on the colony, humans stood silently as the alien announcers counted down. The first group was marched to the execution platform. But before the aliens could act, the monitors in the alien command ship flickered. Systems that had never failed before started glitching. Communications dropped for seconds, then minutes. Panic rippled through the alien ranks. On Earth, the high command room was calm. The glitches were intentional, a signal that the first phase of human retaliation had begun. No shots had been fired, no alarms sounded, but the aliens were already reacting. Confusion was spreading like wildfire. In the colonies, humans noticed the changes too. Alien drones hesitated. Soldiers looked around, unsure. The humans did not move, yet. They held their ground, eyes bright, hearts pounding, silently waiting for the signal. In orbit, a cloaked human platform activated for the first time. Its weapons were silent, invisible to alien sensors. Its presence alone caused anomalies in alien technology. Communication arrays failed. Ships lost coordination. The aliens had trained for centuries to dominate humans, but they had never faced humans who could think like this, who could plan across decades in silence. And on Earth, a final transmission was prepared. It was short, cryptic, but powerful. A single message sent across every channel the aliens used. You are not watching a species that will bend. You are watching the beginning of your end. The message reached the alien fleet moments before the execution was to begin. Screens flickered. Drones stopped midair. Alien officers froze. Their confidence cracked. The massacre that was supposed to humiliate humanity had become the first act of a war they had never expected. On the colony, humans felt it. Fear was still there, but something else surged. Hope. Strength. The knowledge that their species, their home, was not defenseless. That even in the shadow of death, humans could survive, could fight, could change everything. And far away on Earth, the commanders watched with quiet satisfaction. 9 million lives were in danger, but humanity had a plan that would change the galaxy forever. The aliens did not yet understand. They would soon. Because the humans who had been hunted, humiliated, and counted as weak were about to show the universe why no species should ever underestimate them. The galaxy was buzzing with confusion. The alien fleets that had once been so confident now faltered. Systems malfunctioned without explanation. Communication lines that had never failed before were collapsing. Alien officers shouted orders that went unheard, commands that were ignored. Something was happening, something they could not understand. On the colony where 9 million humans had been lined up, the aliens remained unaware of the quiet chaos spreading through their ranks. Soldiers tightened their grip on weapons, scanning the skies for threats. Drones hovered above, recording every moment, yet their sensors were detecting anomalies. Ships stationed above the planet reported erratic energy readings from nowhere. The aliens assumed their technology was at fault. They could not yet imagine it was the humans striking back. On Earth, the high command room was calm, the eye of a storm that had yet to reach its peak. Engineers monitored the alien network in real time, studying every weak point, every vulnerable system. The humans had spent decades designing tools for this exact moment: drones, satellites, cloaked ships, and orbital defense platforms, all waiting silently for activation. Every move had been calculated. Every strike was precise. The galaxy was about to see that humans were not just survivors, they were masters of strategy. In orbit around distant star systems, cloaked human platforms moved silently. Small drones infiltrated alien communications networks, subtly altering signals, creating false readings. Alien patrols chased shadows, trying to track phantom movements that did not exist. Entire fleets were misdirected by data that humans had carefully manipulated. The aliens began to suspect sabotage, but had no idea where it originated. Meanwhile, on the colony, humans began to organize themselves. Small groups communicated through hidden signals, sharing information about the alien defenses. The fear in their eyes remained, but their minds were sharp, calculating the next step. Even as death hovered over them, they thought like humans always had: fast, clever, unpredictable. In one corner of the colony, a young engineer named Curran whispered to a small group, "We are not just going to survive. We are going to make them regret this. Watch carefully." He pointed to the sky where alien drones circled. "Everything they see, we can change it. Every move they make, we can predict it. We are not powerless." The group nodded, hearts pounding, yet determination burning brighter than fear. They were part of a silent rebellion that the aliens could not see, could not comprehend. Humans were not soldiers. They were survivors, inventors, thinkers, and dreamers, and they had the universe to teach. Far from the colony, human ships began small strikes. Not to destroy immediately, but to test, confuse, and delay. Alien communications scrambled. Supply lines faltered. Surveillance systems failed. Panic began to ripple through the alien ranks. Every day, humans pushed back in small but effective ways, and the aliens had no answers. On Earth, the High Command had already moved to the second phase of their plan. Massive orbital platforms, cloaked and armed with technology the aliens could not detect, were activated. Weapons that could disrupt engines, disable shields, and erase navigation systems silently awaited their moment. The humans had designed them for surgical strikes, efficient, precise, deadly without unnecessary destruction. Yet the aliens remained arrogant. "The humans are weak," a fleet commander declared. "Their resistance is meaningless. They have no technology that can match ours. We will finish them and this planet will be ours." They were wrong. As the alien fleet prepared for what they believed would be the final invasion, small human teams infiltrated critical points. Drones slipped past shields and cloaking fields. Sabotage spread through alien supply stations. Entire weapons factories went offline. Ships found themselves adrift in space, systems failing without explanation. It was invisible warfare, a quiet rebellion that grew louder with every passing hour. On the colony, humans felt the change. Drones hesitated midair, soldiers faltered in their steps, and alien commanders shouted orders that went unheard. For the first time, fear turned into hope. Whispered conversations among humans began to speak of survival, not just survival, but revenge. Earth's strategy was clear: patience. The planet had watched its people suffer and die, yet it had not acted rashly. Every move was calculated, every strike timed perfectly. The humans were learning the patterns of their enemies, anticipating their actions, exploiting every flaw. Then, one day, the aliens made a fatal mistake. Overconfident, they moved a massive fleet toward Earth, believing that the humans were disorganized, vulnerable, and ready to be crushed. What they did not realize was that the humans had already prepared a trap. Every ship, every drone, every platform had been positioned precisely to maximize effect. The humans did not attack blindly, they attacked with the knowledge of their enemy's movements. As the alien fleet approached, systems began to fail one by one. Engines stalled. Shields flickered. Communications were lost. Confusion erupted across the alien ships. Officers shouted frantic orders, but there were no answers. The humans, hidden behind cloaks and stealth fields, struck with surgical precision. Ships were disabled, not destroyed, leaving alien crews alive but stranded. Every move was designed to teach a lesson. Humans were clever, unpredictable, and far from powerless. In the chaos, some alien leaders began to panic. "This is impossible," one yelled. "They are not supposed to be able to do this. They should be weak." But humans were more than just strong, they were adaptive. They had survived plagues, natural disasters, wars, and extinction events on their own planet. Now they applied that resilience to interstellar warfare, using brains where the aliens used brute force. Back on the colony, humans watched in awe and hope as their oppressors stumbled. The execution that had been meant to terrify them now seemed irrelevant. The aliens were vulnerable. The humans whispered to each other, eyes bright with determination. "We will survive. We will fight back. We are stronger than they think." Earth prepared the next phase. Massive orbital platforms began to align, their weapons systems ready. Cloaked ships were positioned to intercept any remaining alien fleets. Communications were jammed, sensors scrambled, and navigation disrupted. Humans were no longer hiding. They were preparing to strike decisively. The galaxy watched, unknowingly. Alien leaders panicked, trying to call for reinforcements, only to find their entire network compromised. The humans had anticipated every move, every countermeasure, every possibility. It was more than strategy. It was human ingenuity at its peak. Meanwhile, on Earth, the High Command issued a simple command: wait for the signal. Precision, patience, perfection. The galaxy will learn that humans are not to be underestimated. And in the shadows of the colony, whispers spread among the surviving humans. "We are not victims. We are the storm. They will never see us coming." The aliens, arrogant and confident, prepared for what they believed would be an easy victory. The humans, hidden, prepared for what would become a galaxy-wide revelation. A species that had been hunted, humiliated, and nearly destroyed was about to rise, not with brute force but with intelligence, strategy, and unbreakable spirit. For the first time in galactic history, the oppressed were turning the tide silently, invisibly, irresistibly. The countdown to humanity's first decisive strike had begun, and the galaxy did not yet understand that the very species it had thought weak, fragile, and disposable was about to show the true meaning of resilience, strategy, and unstoppable force. The silent rebellion had begun, and nothing would ever be the same again. The galaxy had grown silent in fear and confusion. Alien fleets, once proud and confident, drifted helplessly through space. Systems failed, weapons were offline, and communication lines had collapsed. Every day, every hour, humanity's secret strikes had dismantled their networks with precision and cunning. The aliens could no longer call it luck. They were being outsmarted. Far above the Earth system, cloaked human platforms moved like shadows. Their presence was invisible to alien sensors, yet their effect was undeniable. Entire fleets had been stranded, their engines dead, their weapons useless. Humans had turned stealth and strategy into an art form, showing that intelligence could outweigh raw power. On Earth, the High Command watched the alien fleets in real time. Each screen displayed disabled ships, scrambled signals, and officers shouting orders into silence. The humans had not yet revealed their full strength, but they were preparing to. A single command would unleash a force the aliens could never recover from. Phase 3, the commander said, his voice calm but powerful. This is the moment we show the galaxy who humans really are. The Order activated massive orbital platforms that had remained hidden until now. They were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. Massive, sleek, and filled with weapons capable of precise strikes on multiple fleets at once. Cloaked ships began moving in formation, unseen, surrounding key alien positions. The humans had calculated every angle, every movement, every response. In distant star systems, alien leaders panicked. "What is this?" one officer yelled. "They are everywhere and we cannot see them. Sensors are failing, shields are collapsing, and they have no right to know this technology." They were right. Humans had developed this technology in secrecy for decades. It was designed not only to protect Earth but to defend every human colony across the galaxy. It was humanity's greatest secret, and now, finally, the time had come to reveal it. On the colony where millions had been hunted, humans watched the sky change. Alien drones, once hovering confidently, now wavered and dropped from the sky. Alien soldiers looked up in confusion as communication devices failed. Orders went unheard. The humans whispered to each other, eyes wide. "It is happening," one woman said. "We are fighting back." The first human strike was precise. Cloaked drones disabled alien engines silently, leaving ships drifting in space. Weapons arrays went offline. Shields failed. Entire formations of alien fleets collapsed in confusion. It was a surgical strike, designed to disable without destroying, to teach a lesson rather than provoke unnecessary death. The aliens scrambled, trying to regain control. Officers shouted into broken radios. Pilots tried to restart engines. Drones searched for threats that did not exist. Every move they made had already been predicted. Humans had anticipated their responses, their panic, even their arrogance. From Earth, the High Command observed calmly. "Let them see our reach," the commander said. "Let them feel our intelligence." The next wave of attacks was even more calculated. Cloaked ships emerged from unexpected angles, striking supply lines, disabling navigation arrays, and creating chaos in alien ranks. Entire fleets were trapped, unable to coordinate. Alien leaders began blaming each other, their arrogance turning to fear. On the colony, humans began to organize small groups. Children, adults, engineers, and soldiers all worked together to take advantage of the alien confusion. Some disabled weapons manually. Others rescued trapped humans. Every action was small, careful, and precise, yet it added to the larger chaos. A young engineer, Curran, led a small team to disable a communications tower. "If we can stop their command, we can save thousands," he whispered. The team moved quickly, avoiding detection. With clever use of human-made devices, they short-circuited the alien systems. Orders never reached the soldiers. Confusion spread like wildfire. The aliens had never faced such adaptability. They had assumed humans were weak, predictable, and easy to control. Instead, they faced minds that could calculate, improvise, and innovate under pressure. Humans were unpredictable, relentless, and patient. Every mistake the aliens made was exploited with precision. In orbit above the colony, Earth's orbital platforms revealed their full strength. Massive weapons fired precise energy beams that disabled entire alien fleets without harming humans. Cloaked ships emerged to intercept reinforcements, striking with surgical efficiency. The galaxy watched silently as alien powers began to crumble under the quiet, unstoppable human assault. Alien leaders attempted desperate negotiations. "We can stop this," one cried. "We can negotiate peace." But the humans had already calculated the cost of trust. They had suffered millions of losses. They had watched their species be humiliated and hunted. Now they were no longer willing to bargain. They were willing to fight and to win. On Earth, the High Command initiated the final sequence of Phase 3. Massive strike platforms aligned, cloaked ships moved to encircle key enemy fleets, and a single command would send the aliens' leaders into permanent retreat. Humans had ensured no unnecessary deaths. Only those responsible for the slaughter of millions would face consequences. Back on the colony, humans watched in awe as alien ships faltered. Soldiers no longer had orders. Drones could not detect targets. Alien leaders shouted into silence. The humans whispered among themselves, hope swelling in their hearts. They realized that they were no longer victims. They were masters of strategy, of technology, and of their fate. Then came the final strike. Massive energy beams, invisible to alien sensors until the last moment, struck command ships and leadership vessels. Systems collapsed instantly. Alien fleets lost coordination entirely. Officers were captured or disabled. The massacre that had been meant to humiliate humanity had instead become the beginning of humanity's revenge and triumph. From Earth, the High Command watched the aliens falter. The galaxy's most confident predators were now helpless against the very species they had thought weak. They never learned, the commander said quietly. They never understood humans. The aliens fled where they could, but the damage was done. Every fleet that had participated in the massacre had been disabled. Every leader responsible had been neutralized. Humans had shown, not with brute force alone, but with intelligence, strategy, and unwavering resolve, that no species could underestimate them. On the colony, humans stepped out of hiding. They helped each other, treated the wounded, and rebuilt what had been destroyed. Their eyes were bright with determination. They had survived the unthinkable. They had struck back with precision and ingenuity. And they had shown the galaxy that humans were a force beyond prediction, beyond arrogance, beyond fear. In orbit above Earth, the final signal was sent. A broadcast, simple and clear, reached every corner of the galaxy. You hunted us. You humiliated us. You killed millions, but we survived. We adapted. And we will never be weak again. Humanity protects its own, and those who threaten us will face the consequences. The galaxy went silent. Every civilization, every species understood in that moment. Humans were no longer prey. They were masters of strategy, of survival, and of innovation. They were unpredictable, intelligent, and unstoppable. And on Earth, the High Command allowed themselves a small smile. The human reveal was complete. The galaxy had learned a lesson that would echo for generations. Humans were not just survivors. They were a power to be respected, feared, and admired. The silent rebellion had become a roar. The galaxy had changed. Where once humans were prey, now they were predators. But predators defined not by brutality, but by intelligence, strategy, and unyielding resolve. Every alien fleet that had participated in the massacre of 9 million humans had been neutralized, captured, or scattered. The lesson was clear. Earth species could not be underestimated. In orbit above Earth, the High Command monitored the final waves of alien fleets retreating into distant sectors. Cloaked human platforms, hidden until the last moment, maintained surveillance. Every movement was predicted, every route observed. Humanity had turned a massacre into a demonstration of power no species could ignore. "Target sectors are clear," said Commander Alara, her voice calm but firm. "All critical threats have been neutralized. Civilian colonies are safe. The galaxy now understands that humans protect their own." Yet Earth's leaders did not celebrate prematurely. They knew arrogance could be dangerous. Every system, every fleet, every hidden alien faction was still a potential threat. Humanity's next move had to be decisive, not only for revenge but for security. Across the galaxy, alien leaders who had survived hid in distant systems, communicating in whispers. Fear had replaced confidence. They debated whether to rebuild, negotiate, or flee. Many remembered the millions they had slaughtered, and the fleets they had lost to humans who had seemed fragile but were, in reality, unstoppable. In the colonies, humans began rebuilding. The survivors of the massacre worked alongside their liberators to restore communities, heal the wounded, and reclaim their homes. The loss of 9 million still hung heavy in the hearts of Earth's people, but grief had transformed into determination. Humanity had survived the unthinkable and had proven its intelligence and resilience. A young engineer, Curran, now a hero of the rebellion, stood on a recovered observation platform. He looked at the sky, once filled with alien drones and warships, now mostly empty except for scattered retreating vessels. "They thought they had won," he whispered. "They thought humans were weak, but they learned too late, and we will never forget." From Earth, a final broadcast was prepared. It was not a message of hatred, but of strength and warning. Scientists, strategists, and communicators worked together, crafting a transmission that would reach every star system in known space. The message was simple, precise, and unyielding. Humanity protected its own, and any attempt to destroy it would be met with unstoppable force. The broadcast began. Across the galaxy, screens flickered to life, displaying Earth's message. "To all civilizations, you have seen our strength. You have seen what happens when humans are threatened. We survived a massacre of 9 million and we endured. This is our warning. Humanity protects its own. Any species that seeks to harm us will face consequences beyond your understanding. The era of underestimating humans is over." In alien fleets, panic spread. Communications were frantic. Officers shouted into silence, trying to respond to a species they had always believed weak. Ships that had once been confident and coordinated now scattered in fear. The galaxy had received humanity's declaration. No attack on humans would ever go unanswered. Back on Earth, the High Command allowed themselves a rare moment of relief. They had avenged their people, protected their colonies, and sent a warning no species could ignore. But they also knew that vigilance would always be necessary. Humanity had survived not only by strength but by intelligence, strategy, and the unbreakable will to endure. The survivors of the colony where millions had been slaughtered walked among each other. Families were reunited, communities restored, and the memory of those lost honored with monuments, ceremonies, and stories. Every survivor knew they had been part of a history that would be remembered forever, a history where humanity had turned despair into triumph. In the distant reaches of space, alien factions began to whisper about the humans. "They are not weak," one officer admitted quietly. "They are clever, adaptive, and ruthless when necessary. We cannot fight them like we fought others. We cannot underestimate them ever again." Even allies of the humans, distant civilizations that had only watched from afar, began to respect and fear Earth's species. Humans had shown that intelligence, patience, and courage could overcome raw power, that resilience was more dangerous than technology alone, and that no species should ever assume superiority over them. Earth itself became a symbol. Cities gleamed, rebuilt stronger and more advanced than ever. Orbital platforms, once secret, now stood as reminders of human ingenuity and preparation. The planet had survived the greatest challenge in its history and had emerged victorious. Commander Alara looked at the stars one last time that day. "We have taught the galaxy a lesson," she said softly. "One they will not forget, but we remain vigilant. Humanity's strength is not in vengeance alone, it is in foresight, strategy, and unity. We protect our own, always." The survivors of the massacre joined her on the observation platform. They were heroes, ordinary humans who had endured unimaginable horror and had helped turn it into victory. Children who had been hidden in secret bunkers waved to the sky. Scientists and engineers, once behind the scenes, now stood proudly as the architects of the human triumph. In the coming months, Earth sent teams to recover and rebuild human colonies across the galaxy. Every act of retaliation, Every defense, every strike had been precise, avoiding unnecessary destruction. Humanity had not become a species of vengeance. It had become a species of intelligence, foresight, and unbreakable will. And across the galaxy, every civilization knew one truth: humans were no longer prey. They were masters of their fate, unpredictable, clever, and unstoppable. The massacre that had been intended to erase them had instead forged a species stronger than ever. In distant sectors, alien leaders debated their next moves. Could they trust each other? Could they ever challenge humans again? The answer was clear. Any future attack on Earth or its colonies would be met with strategic brilliance and calculated force beyond imagination. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Back on Earth, ceremonies honored the 9 million who had been killed. Statues, monuments, and memorials stood in every major city. Stories were told in schools, in homes, and across communication networks. Humanity had lost much, but it had gained the respect and fear of the galaxy. Every life lost fueled the determination of the survivors and the brilliance of Earth's strategy. A young child born after the massacre asked Curran, "Will the aliens ever come back?" He smiled and placed a hand on the child's shoulder. "If they do, we will be ready. Humanity always is. We learn, we adapt, and we survive. And the galaxy will never forget that lesson." As the sun set over Earth, the planet gleamed with new life, rebuilt stronger than before. Humanity had endured the unthinkable, struck back with intelligence and precision, and sent a message that would echo through the stars forever. The galaxy had witnessed the rise of humans, not as weak prey, but as a force unmatched in cleverness, strategy, and resilience. The massacre of 9 million had been intended to erase them, but it had done the opposite. It had revealed their true strength. And somewhere in the far reaches of the stars, alien civilizations whispered the same thing: do not underestimate humans, ever again. The universe had learned its lesson, and Earth, the home of the humans who had endured, survived, and triumphed, stood unshakable, vigilant, and eternal. Humanity's message was clear: they protect their own, they endure, and they are unstoppable. The stars themselves seemed to bow to this new reality. Humanity had risen. Humanity had survived. Humanity had won, and the galaxy would never forget it.